Hello students, welcome to another video on nervous system in humans for class 8. We have been reading about the different parts of nervous system and about the central nervous system in detail. Today we will be moving to the last part of this chapter in which you are going to learn about the next topic, that is reflex action. Now, what is a reflex action? You know that the most activities of your body is controlled by your brain and also the spinal cord. And the spinal cord controls some actions that do not involve the brain at all. Like, for example, if you step on a sharp object, what do? You instantly withdraw your foot. This reaction is very automatic and you don't have to think about removing your foot. It automatically withdraws itself. This kind of an action is called a reflex action. So, how can I define a reflex action? An automatic, spontaneous, and mechanical response to a stimulus controlled by the spinal cord without the involvement of the brain is called reflex action. So it is automatic, it happens automatically, a spontaneous thing which happens, and mechanical response to a stimulus. Now what are these two words, stimulus and response? Now stimulus is any condition in which is happening in the environment that causes a reaction in the organism. Maybe like it's cold. The stimulus can be like feeling of hunger or feeling cold. And there can be internal and external stimulus. Like I told, if you're feeling cold, that's an external factor. But if you're feeling hungry, that becomes an internal factor or an internal stimuli. What's a response then? The reaction of the organism to a stimulus is called a response. Means how we are reacting to a situation, how we are reacting to a stimulus is called response. The nerve pathway of a reflex action is called a reflex arc. We are going to read about the reflex arc today, and I'll show you a diagrammatic representation of the same. Now, also the reflex arc involves three neurons: sensory neurons, association neurons, and the motor neurons, about which we have already read in the previous videos. Now you can see this diagram in which a person is touching a hot object and automatically he or she removes her hand. Now what is actually happening in the skin, the sense organ? There are some special cells called the receptor cells which carry the impulse. You can see this green line moving to your nerves, and here you can see the afferent neuron. Don't get confused, afferent neuron is your sensory neuron. And once it's reaching the spinal cord, through the help of the spinal cord, there is an efferent neuron which is telling it to remove its hand, and your muscles automatically move away and withdraw your hand. So what is actually happening? Firstly, a stimulus is triggered, an impulse in a receptor, which could be any sensory organ. And the impulse then travels from the receptor through a sensory neuron to the spinal cord. As you can see, this is a spinal cord here. We have read about the diagram in the previous class, in the previous video. In the spinal cord, it passes from an association neuron. So this is the one which is associating the efferent and the afferent, or the sensory and the motor neuron, and finally reaches the muscles, that is the effector organ. You can see this blue line which is coming from the spinal cord reaches a muscle. The muscle of the effector organ will contract, moving it away from the stimulus, as you can see in the diagram. So did you understand, children? The brain is not involved here, and automatically the spinal cord is helping you to react spontaneously. So, if I ask you the pathway of a reflex arc, what are you going to say? It starts with the stimulus, as you saw in the diagram. When the receptor organ is receiving a stimulus, the sensory neuron is taking that to the association neuron in the spinal cord, from where the response is coming through the motor neuron, and your muscle is responding by moving it away. What are some other common examples of reflex action? You blink your eyes when something enters your eyes, right? Or any foreign particle comes very close to your eye, you close it automatically. And sneezing and coughing are examples of reflex action. It happens because something gets into your nasal passage. The removal of hand when you touch something, as you saw in the diagram. There is knee jerk reflex, which happens in response to tapping under the knee, and the withdrawal of the leg when you step barefoot on any sharp object. These are all examples of the reflex action. Moving on, how does the message reach the brain? So, children, I have taught you about the brain and the spinal cord, and also I had told you that nervous system has three parts. That was central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and autonomic nervous system. Also remember that the peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves which arise from the brain and the spinal cord. So what is happening and how does the message reach the brain? The peripheral nervous system is transmitting the message to and from the sense organs, and also it controls all the voluntary actions like if you are writing, walking, swimming, cycling, etc. And the incoming messages, they enter the spinal cord from all parts of the body and they reach the brain, which sends back the message to different body parts through the spinal cord, and it tells you what has to be done next. So moving on to the next topic, that sense organs. Now why to tell you about sense organs? Because there is a close relationship between the central nervous system and the sense organs. And it's because the sense organs contain the special receptor cells that receive the stimulus from the environment. And then these sense organs, they are responsible for the reception of the stimuli of sight, sound, smell, taste and touch. There are 5 sense organs, all of you know that. I would like you to comment what are the 5 sense organs in the chat box. Let's see who gets it all right. I hope you all get it right. They are connected to the brain through the different nerves. For example, the optic nerve, it connects the eye to the brain, right? So you know which is the sense organ here. And olfactory nerve, it connects the nose to the brain. So with this, children, you have got an idea of the reflex action, its various examples, how the messages are reaching the brain, and how your spinal cord and brain are working with the help of the nerves to get your message to different parts of your body. I hope this chapter is clear to you. Thank you for watching.